this right here, it has some of the stuff I've diagrammed on it. I've just been doing some light traces and then erasing some of them mostly, but the main things that I find I marker out. And there's some other sheets I have diagrammed. But I'm finding a common equation throughout the entire set.
Okay.
So I'm learning how to do the math because I've never done this sort of math before, and I'm just kind of trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, in the Dougherty set, if I pull this up, in the Dougherty set, it starts at 0, and then the circles, they don't start at a whole number. They half and half and half endlessly to the point 0. So they are actually an infinitesimal is the first variable.
So what about the first circle off of the center?
Yeah, that's an infinitesimal. So it is marked as epsilon, and an infinitesimal is the closest number to 0 that we can get without being actually 0.
Okay. Okay.
And then it goes epsilon, 2 epsilon, 4 epsilon, 8 epsilon, 16 epsilon, so on, and it is doubling. And so the way to write that is that you have, like, if we think in regular progression, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like counting.
Yes.
You would go whatever number you want. So like whether it's 5, the 5th progression, or the 8th progression, you go number. It's the summation of a number, whatever number you want to start at, to infinity via the function of epsilon times 2 to the power of whatever number you were putting in. And there's some weird
Have you looked at the grid on Google Sheets yet?
Yeah, I have, and it's all the same algorithm.
Right. The whole thing is really just doubles of itself, like a periodic cascade almost of its self mirroring, which is really interesting because that makes it even simpler. Like if you want to talk about a simple equation to the universe. For universal scale, I mean universal scales and stuff.
Well, with our body, I mean, it is quite similar to how cellular division happens. You know, you start with 1 and it multiplies into the platonic solids. So there's one other progression. There's a few. I wanted to ask you about one of these in here that I don't have the numbers for, but like to give you an example of another progression that's the same, but it's marked in your diagram. It's like 1 plus 0.5 plus 2 plus 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 8 plus 4 plus 16 plus 8. A little bit odd, but if you take like the first two of the progression, so 1 plus 0.5, and then you take the next two, 2 plus 1, then you take the next two, 4 plus 2, you have 1.5 plus 3 plus 6 plus 12 plus 24, and that's doubling. So instead of it being like, well, actually, it's exactly the same equation. It's epsilon is the first term and 2 is the ratio. And you just plug in, instead of, you can substitute epsilon for a whole number, but it does not diagram your series to the same effect. And yeah, it is going straight from the closest number you can get to 0 to infinity. But what I wanted to ask you about, between all of these doubling ratios, there's another ratio that's like, it's, well, you know, I've tried ruling it with my ruler, just eyeing it, but it doesn't look like it's halfway between, you know, like if you have 0.25 and then you have 0.5, it's not quite 0.3, what is that? That's like 0.375. Yeah, it's not quite. Or like if you have 0.5 and then 1, it's not quite 0.75. And those, you can see the regular progression here, which is 1, well, this is 0.5 to 1 to 2 to 4, and you fold this radius inwards, and you can see that it's actually like 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0.5. But then here, you'll see that this circle right here is the same radius as this one, so it's 1. And this doesn't have a measurement. And then this radius is 2. And then this circle doesn't have quite a measurement. And so I was curious if that ratio there is in relation to phi or whatnot, because I'm not getting a good, accurate measuring. If you have a...
I guess what I see is that a lot of times what happens inside of the script is that it skips a level or it skips a layer. So you'll have one ring, and then it'll skip a ring, and then it'll go to the next ring, and then it'll skip a ring, and then go to the next ring, and then that will be a harmonic of the series, and then that whole series that's skipped becomes like another inner or outer part of the whole system, if that helps at all. You can see that it doesn't help, I know.
Yeah, it's sort of not really.
What you were showing, I don't really follow 100%.
Here, I can sketch it out right now, this very second. Okay. So, this is a little bit tricky to do. I'm going to turn around so I can see what I'm doing, so I'm not doing it backwards. Try to face the computer this way. Okay. So now, I don't know if you can see these green circles on this line.
Yeah.
Okay. So, see, this one right here is equal to, the radius of that is equal to 0.5. This one right here, its radius is equal to 1. So that one's equal to 1. This right, go ahead.
I see the squatter man is playing his day inside that. That's cool.
Yeah. And then out here, this one is equal to a radius of 2. But the one between here, 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 I don't have a measurement for. I've actually diagrammed.
It would be the same. It would be the same, but just offset. So the first one would be 0.5. The second one would be, what'd you say, 1? Yeah, 1. And then the third one would be 2. Just like that one. And they're the exact mirror of each other.
This is 0.5, this is 1, this is 2.
Yeah.
So the radius of this would be...
Oh, I see what you're saying. It can't be point. I see.
Exactly.
But it would be similar to the exact kind of scaling ratio. I just don't know.
Exact same scaling.
I just don't know exactly what the diameter of it would be, or what you would.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was curious about, because it doesn't seem to be halfway between. And the thing is, the next equation that I'm trying to diagram is, I don't know, like the concentricity. So you have one circle, then you have this outer circle, then you have the next wider circle in the diagram, and it's like, circle outside, 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 and concentricity from the very center.
Yeah.
And it goes, it's a really weird progression. It's kind of
It's a
like
square root of 2 progression. That's what that's what that is.
it's a what?
Square root of 2.
Square root of 2.
Yeah. So the whole entire thing is a square root of 2.
Do you have a diagram you can send to me on that?
It is a square within a square within a square.
I'll look at stuff and see if I can find anything.
Let me. I don't think I left you with any of those copies of that. I was trying to find one for you.
I do remember seeing that on your page, though. Yeah.
Yeah. When you look at the Dougherty Sets page, I think, or Love is Watching's page, in the background should be the square within this pattern, but with a square within the square within the square. And that's what the whole thing is based off of.
Okay.
So it's the circles where the vertices of the square, I might be saying that wrong. The edges of the square touch the circle.
Right.
And then the square goes inside of a square nested, and then the next circle starts. And then from those circles, the cascade comes off of all of those. So it's all the square root of 2, which is the inverse square law, which is how everything falls off of the sun and cascades off of the sun. So, I mean, not only how everything cascades off the sun, but how electromagnetism, the properties of light, sound, even smell, works in that same manner.
All right.
So that's what I've learned about the square root of 2. Some of the stuff I've learned about the square root of 2 progression, but the new map that I've built with the 5, it's crazy, dude. I've been studying the hell out of it, and it's nuts. And just like I studied that one for a good freaking 16 years, a whole bunch of fruit's going to come out of this too.
Telling anybody about the equation. There's a way to simplify the summation to a linear equation. That's really simple. Using epsilon in the terminology.
What is epsilon?
Epsilon is an infinitesimal quantity.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's like the closest thing to 0.
I know you told me, but it'd be hard for me to envision seeing it in an equation or in math. I mean, I probably see it all the time, or don't even know.
Okay, this right here is epsilon. That symbol is like a backwards E. It looks like a 3, but it's backwards.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's not E. E is something completely different. It's epsilon, and it's an infinitesimal quantity.
Okay.
So the way you would write it, if you ever want to tell people about the equation, like you said, it was like 1 over a 1/2 or something like that. But I looked into that, and that wasn't quite entirely correct.
Yeah, I don't really know the exact equation.
This would be it. You can write it linearly, or you can write it with epsilon. So in terms of epsilon, it's the infinitesimal epsilon equals 2 to the power of n, whatever plugin you're putting, whether it's to the 5th power, to the 8th power.
And that would be whatever number it is?
So like the first power would be 1. The second power would like 1 epsilon. The second power would be 2 epsilon, and the third power would be 4 epsilon. Fourth, 8 epsilon. Fifth, 16 epsilon.
So 108 would actually be what epsilon?
I'm not doing that math in my head right now.
Okay. So I get it. So there's a I guess I don't. All right. So continue, please.
Okay. Well, if you want to write that linearly, so you can think of this, here's your x and your y coordinate plane, and n is a regular numeric progression, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then y goes up in a different progression, and you write it like y equals 2 to the power of x. And so then you have a line that goes from, and you can plug in the first term as 1 or whatever. You have to plug in x or y to figure out the whatever it will be, but it's going to be doubling from the first term, and the ratio is 2. So it's constantly, 1, 2, 4, 8. And with epsilon, the thing about infinitesimals is that that pattern where it's doubling eventually does reach a whole number. It's not like infinity. See, I originally tried to do the equation backwards, where I started with infinity and went downwards. And the thing about infinity is no matter how many times you have it, you just have a smaller infinity, but it's still infinity.
Yeah, there's an infinite amount of infinities.
Yeah. With epsilon, it's not like that. You can actually get a whole number, although it's infinite progression. It eventually reaches a whole number, and then that whole number doubles and doubles. So it can get to 1, it can get to 2, it can get to 4 as a whole number from epsilon. So it's accurate within your diagram. And what it shows, the craziest thing, it shows this diagram where you're having creation from the 0th dimension, because it really takes it down to an infinitesimal quantity.
So like take for example, God is always happening, and then everything else is always streaming off of the center source perpetually. Like if God were to be the center of that circle at the very center of the set, and all things would be streaming off of it constantly, and us trying to reach the 0 point is us going into the circles and finding that all of these circles subdivide into cavities and whirlwinds and overlappings of circles that create the particles, or the Zitterby-Wagung that's referred to, that I think Feynman refers to as all of the particles and the vibrating and oscillating that happens when you go towards 0, or you go towards when you get towards almost absolute 0, you find more particles. So that's what the Germans named that term. I mean, it's a German word, but I think it was Penrose, maybe Feynman. But that's what I think is like happening as we go into it. The dielectric inertial plane, which is the fulcrum or the stillness of the center of the shafts, are where these little tiny subparticles subdivide and divide and then annihilate, pop into existence, go out of existence, to create sort of similar to, see, I'm not sold to any one theory, and I think that is a problem with anybody. Is if you get sold on a theory, then you put yourself in a box. I'm not even sold on my theory. I don't even know what the hell the Dougherty set is. I'm just trying to figure it out, and I keep showing all these similarities, like, hey, look at this beautiful thing inside of this set that happens to have every other thing that we've ever seen it with our eyes somehow inside of the substructure of it, and the shadows of it, and the motions of the creatures moving, and the dances, and like it's as if you could sonify the set and turn it into reality. But sure, that's my bias. Of course I'm going to have a bias about it. And then there's other sets that I'm developing now. I mean, am I a set theorist, a set mathematician? No. Are these even sets? No, not necessarily. They're actually foliations of higher dimensional space. And hyperdimensional hyperbolic physics, and you know, a lot of this stuff is already designed, ready to build structures. And um, what I want to, I have a, I have some interested people, and this think tank can turn into something where we travel the world and we prove this stuff, like Nassim Harriman's doing, and we just pull in money, and pool it towards smart things like, how they're doing that necklace. I saw that you liked it. That necklace that people are wearing. Um, Nassim Harriman's necklace.
With the uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's ridiculous. Just
I
like
saw
they
the
they
pictures.
make their own. It's like glass, and they claim that they grow their own crystals in the lab and stuff, and like it's all this and that, and I don't know the whole specifics of it. Okay, because Terrence is growing diamonds too. Terrence Howard. Apparently, he owns a company that does that. I don't know if he still does or contributes that, but um, these these crystals should be able to be grown. We can make these in the lab, bro. These crazy shapes. Uh, that'd be
Thought
cool. I
those,
wonder if Terrence was doing that. I mean, like he should. If he does diamonds and stuff, they should. I guess there's only certain ways you can cut a diamond, but there's a whole bunch of different ways.
I thought there was some theory that you cannot predict how a crystal will form.
No, there's a there. I don't know. I haven't heard that one fully, but I know that there is a law of the faces of stacking layers of crystals, and I've been trying to find the law for a long time. I learned it in geology class. There's a law of uh, uh, of the stacking of crystals and the amount of faces that every single mineral has, and it's a universal law. And I love every time I find universal laws, I'm like, what? Okay, let me see if we can break this. No, and I'm like breaking the law, breaking the law. No, anytime I find a universal law, I get excited because I'm like, and then especially this, everybody talks about there's not, a lot of people are talking about now there's like no straight lines and it's all curves. And
See, I think it's exactly the opposite of that. I think it's all Euclidean. I'm sorry.
yeah, see, that's fine. And you can think of it like that, but fractals don't break down that way if you study fractal math and the chaos of that. But um, I think it's all curvature, and curvature is straight lines. So maybe you're right.
Um, okay. I'm. Have you looked at? Have you looked at? I'm spacing his name, but the theory, well, the math where it takes a circle and it uses infinitesimals and it does these triangles and adds all the triangles together and you get like the area of a circle.
Yeah, and it just keeps
Again,
dividing it and dividing it and dividing it.
yeah, into triangles, sections, and
Yeah.
when you do that, underneath every triangle, there's a gap that's missing from the area. But the smaller you make the triangles, the closer it comes to filling in that gap. And at some point, you get closer and closer. Well, see, perfect curvature in calculus, how we do calculus today, we use those infinitesimals to calculate things. We don't calculate perfect curvature. We approximate a imaginary curvature based on a Euclidean set. And so, yeah, it's all straight lines and approximate curvature. But if you think of it this way, so you take a circle or any regular polygon, take like a hexagon, okay? And you bump up the number of sides, you double that to 12, and then you draw a circle around that, and then you double that to 24 sides, and you draw a circle around that, and keep doubling that. The gaps between the triangles and the circle on the outside is going to get smaller and smaller. Like with the hexagon, you have this wide gap, and then with the dodecagon, it gets even closer, so there's smaller gaps. And those get smaller and smaller, the number of sides you get on a polygon. And when you get infinite sides, you then have a perfect circle, perfect curvature. And that's called an epeirogon, but it's still a polygon. So the concept of perfect curvature, if you take a line, or you take a perfect curve and you look at it really close, you zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, at some point there will be part of it that's made out of two lines and a corner. And you zoom into that corner or the line, and it's all made out of straight lines, just like this epeirogon makes a perfect circle without being one line. And the thing about pi is it states that it's one line, no corners, which is like nonsense. How can you have turning, curvature, corners? How can you have that curvature without corners? It's impossible. It has to be made out of straight lines.
I don't know. I think that maybe, well, everything comes down to chirality, a spinning of a left spinning or an inward spin or an outward spin, which we call left or right spin, and or an upward spin or a downward spin. And one of these paths produce the mineral kingdom and things that we consider non-living, and one of these paths produce the living kingdom. And this is known. Everything that spins one direction comprises the whole living universe and the whole living kingdom.
Even spirals can be summated out of
straight lines.
Yeah, because there's a word for this.
Logarithmic spirals.
Yeah, but there's a certain word for this type of spiral, and you can do it with polygons, you can do it with lines, you can do it with whatever progression. But yeah, you can make spirals out of straight lines, and in calculus, once again, it's an approximation curvature using a Euclidean frame, using infinitesimals. So, I mean, we're using infinity and a non-existent number to calculate curvature in all things, and that nature does appear very.
Well, there's not one. There's the whole Dougherty set. The whole Dougherty set. There's no straight lines on it. The whole thing is circles.
Isn't the vector a straight line?
There's no vectors. That's comprised out of circles. There's no lines on it.
But the center of all circles. See, that's like in your talk with Darren and Dale Pond. He was saying that on all chirality, there's a third component where you have to look at it like a fulcrum, where it's actually rotating from a vector, and our current mathematics ignores that fulcrum, ignores the center point, the third component. Or you look at it, he was saying the 3, 6, 9.
Yeah.
That the vector is a component, like all non-Euclidean wireframes are based off of Euclidean lines first, and then they're morphed. Same thing with the vector. All these circles that expand, they're based on a vector, where the center of each circle is.
But it's still circles nonetheless. If the fields are all propagating circles, then the field is itself spherical, and it produces toroidal flows, and toroids and helices come out of it. And sure, a toroid is hard to construct. It's not impossible, but it's hard to construct using all straight lines. So it's not more efficient for the universe to use something. Let's say, okay, you can create the Dougherty set out of straight lines. You can create different sets that look like it and fields that look like it, but it's not going to create all sorts of lively dynamism that we see inside of the Earth. Why the Earth has the shape of the magnetosphere. The dynamics of that is literally embedded inside of the set. There's so many things that you can't explain, or there's so many things that this set ties into naturally, that to create the set using straight lines would be harder when we already know how spherical propagations work, which is why there's a lot of confusion, or sometimes a lot of confusion between if there's a particle or wave duality, or if the universe is a particle or a wave, perhaps it's helical,
Right.
and that solves both, because the helice acts as the node and the wave itself, and it accounts for the third, like Dale Pond was saying, the center axis.
Okay. Couple things. When we get to larger scales, yeah, because at larger scales things seem to be more have a lot of curvature, but then we go down to atoms and smaller structures. They're also very
irregular, curved,
they're
broken,
curved, yeah.
Dendritic.
The concept of a cellular automaton, though, is that at some point everything becomes pixelated. Maybe not square, maybe not hexagonal, but it becomes a Euclidean grid of tiles that fill that space.
I know your mind is really fixated with this idea of this game.
Not just the game, no. It's
and the concept,
yeah.
and the concept, the mathematics behind the game, and this being a possibility. But if you could do me a favor and pull up, or you know what? Let me see if it's easier for me to share my screen. While you're talking, I'm going to try to share my screen here because it reminds me of something that you're saying.
Okay. On your diagram, you have a little gap. I don't know. It looks like, there we go. Between these circles, all of them have this gap right here. And I'm curious.
Wait. Gap where?
Between the circles.
Oh,
right
yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's odd. What's that about? And so the first thing I went when I was recreating the Dougherty set is I got rid of that gap in a Euclidean set, but because I wouldn't know how to do it with circles. Is there something going on with that gap?
Absolutely. As there's expansion, there's contraction, and the part of what you see inside of what I normally studied for years was the fulcrum, the center, and all the shapes coming off of it, and how they nest, and what they do, and the purpose of them, and how the vortices work. Now, if you can start to think of the cellular automatons as vortices that are systolic two-way opposing spiral vortices, where one is thrusting with a preponderance in one direction and one is thrusting in the opposite direction, and build the whole grid out of those, then uh, you can start to understand how it's so much more of a vortexture than it is a pixelation or a disintegration or simulation. And with the thrusting, you get the sun is thrusting, everything is thrusting. It's the part of the sex that is the part of the helices that without that open part, you have nothing but collapse. You don't have expansion. So you have the whole thing is expanding and contracting, dilating, pulsating with rhythms. So if you take out the the part that you were pointing out, which I refer to as space crystals, along that grid, it's space crystals, and along the grid of the fulcrums or the lines that seem like 12 lines coming out, that's the time crystal. So anything out of the time crystal and part of the time crystal, but then you put it together and you start to realize that there's so many effulgent patterns that are radiating out of this, that are necessary for each other. And the more, like, you can watch the Dougherty set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on YouTube and see that there's so many different patterns.
I've watched some of those, all the patterns, concentric fractals, expansion ratios. Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Thanks. And that's like the stuff that I'm talking about. And if I could share my screen here, screen share, your entire screen. Boom. Share. Share. Okay. Now, let me go to Facebook. I shared it on the Electric View channel, which, by the way, the Electric View, the last episode this last Sunday, oh my gosh. Talk about just a planet of new ideas. Like,
Working with the dinosaur.
oh, I am. You see this, baby? It ain't even. Okay, this is what I shared. Boom. Have you seen this yet?
You just shared it today. I haven't seen it then.
I might have shared it the other day. Just the other day. Let's see where it's at. Yeah, that's the cover I
That looks like
threw together.
an octopus inside of a water droplet.
This is what I'm going to tell you about Conway's Game of Life and Cellular Automata and this dude. I don't know if you probably won't be able to hear my. He's great at explaining it.
Plasmoid.
You can actually hear him explaining it on yours if you want to go to it, but for the sake of time,
Yeah.
I'll get started here. This is a light bulb, and I want to buy one of these. This is what I talk about when dragons as plasma.
Beautiful. It reminds me of David Schmeier.
David
Schmeier?
Schiermeyer.
Schirmeyer, yeah. Wow, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, he has like 5 different gases in it. Ah, there's like 5 different gas. So you got to remember, this is just charge moving through gases.
Yeah.
So this is like the atmosphere. This is like so many things in the universe. And
That's funky. It's as if it's treating the gases as like
A
a
body.
massive network
Yeah,
or
a body.
nervous system.
Yeah. And then he turns it off. Oh, dude, it's so smoky. It's such a smoky plasma. Oh my gosh. It's not smoking. And you turn it off, there's no condensation on the bottle or anything. Just a little node charging it up. Now, this is why I say it's all, well, sure, there's straight lines and curvature, but man,
There is this this story I read a while back. I'm not sure where I found it. Um, but it goes along the lines that there was a candle in the center of a dark room on the floor. And that candle expanded its light. And its light is its consciousness, and the outside of of its light, the very rim of it, is its awareness. So everything within is what it's aware of. And as it expands in this endless darkness, it becomes aware of more. But the question is it ever really becoming aware of more? How does it even know that it is growing itself? How does it know that it's not shrinking? How does it know? And so on. And so we think of God as this light, and he's expanding his consciousness and creating the universe as an expansion um, of space. And the desire to exist is that expansion. And so when we look at like the Dougherty set, an example, or in relation to Walter Russell's work, which was phenomenal, the candle, the awareness, the expansion is its desire to exist. And
mm-hmm.
then at some point when it's found it's set how far it wants to be, how big it wants to be, how big it wants to exist as, it starts to create a gravitational pull. And that is a spiral that moves up in this system, kind of like an arc over time. And then as it comes to its maximum peak, it reaches this ball state. And Walter Russell had this beautiful painting on it where it reaches its ball state and then it moves past. Once it's reached that peak, it goes out of balance and it starts to radiate outwards. And so that would be the death of the sun. And on the Dougherty set, I'm seeing how every center is exactly like that expanding circle. In fact, actually on the Dougherty set, it has limits to some of these circles by how far they are out from the center circle, but the center circle can expand to whatever limits, to infinity. And so it's as if the Dougherty set is a conscious construct um, of candlelight, you know, saying, hey, I want to exist.
That's a really beautiful analogy to put it that way. Like it's just a light that came through me to show the world. And people do so many different things with their their visions, their illuminations, their what has come to them from whatever source, because there's many different sources and people claim that it comes from different sources sometimes, and it's, you know, sometimes false angels, sometimes weird entities, like but it's strange to see the integrity of people's visions that claim that it comes from the higher source of God, the universe of the God of one, you know, and like for other people who might be channeling like demons into the what's that Atlantean cultures from Atlantis and stuff. These are energies that are there, and sure, there's information, but it's also disinformation and very dangerous to deal with any type of, I guess you could, uh, any messing with any spirits is us as a tricky business is what I'm saying, and a real thing.
We were talking about crystals before. If you're not sharing something right now, I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
pull something up.
Oh, this is a crystal.
Okay.
Hi. Have you seen this before? Or, oh, it was just at it. That's weird that it. Oh, because I went to the Dougherty set. Go ahead, share your screen.
Okay. Let's see. Is it working?
Yep.
All right. So this is a crystal. I've been working with some other people trying to form quasicrystals,
Mm-hmm.
and it's composed of the the rhombic tricontahedron and the rhombic hexacontahedron. And there's some other shapes that are involved, but I haven't really diagrammed those yet. I'm just working with these two for now. Both of these shapes are composed of one shape, which is the golden rhombohedra. So if you think of like a cube, but then it's been skewed to be oblique, so that all faces are rhomboid. They're
Like it's like
rhombuses.
a diamond, like a diamond.
Yeah,
Like the blue diamonds you see here.
yeah. And then uh, there's two different rhombuses. One's larger, one's smaller, but they compose the golden rhombus. And uh, from here to here, one end to one end, is the ratio of 1, and from here to here, this other end to the other end, is phi. And so that's why it's called the golden rhombohedra.
Okay.
Golden rhombus, and then golden rhombohedra is composed of all of that. And now uh, these sets, I'll go ahead and see. Yeah, it should just be like that. But you have these crystals growing outwards from the center, filling space. And it's not just these ones that I've diagrammed, but a few others. And the Dougherty network, the Dougherty set, I remember that quasi-crystal that I was showing you I made based on the Dougherty set,
Yes.
the second dimensional one. Yeah, yeah. There's tons of different compositions that these two can form. It's crazy.
Huh.
Um, well, basing the Dougherty set on what? Right here. Okay. Yeah, there's this video. Just showing the quasi-crystal, and if I can pull it up, the other quasi-crystal that I was making on the Dougherty set, I've been working on it for like 6 months, still working on it. It's crazy how complex it gets. It just keeps going inwards and inwards, and every time I add a new line, I'm finding that there's some other lines missing. But
Yes. This is the one that you said that was based off. Go ahead.
yeah, so it does have that doubling ratio as well, and you'll have one solid to the second, and then you'll have a one solid to one twice the size that holds two of them,
Mm-hmm.
dodecagon. And the set is all based on the Dougherty set. It's the same.
It's fucking gorgeous. So it's the Dougherty set built with lines, kind of.
Yeah, and this shows a little difference from the Dougherty set because what goes on is it's not just
Wow.
expanding from one center, but you see this center point here is also right here and is also right here. And so as it's the quasicrystal, it's the center is at every point in space where there is a what's it called? Um,
So the planets should harmonically. Oh, and I interrupted you. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead about the planets.
Yeah, the planets should be where these nodes are too, and or where these voids are along the set from the main center source outward.
Well,
Uh,
working with a planet like Venus, we'd have to do this set, but in the pentagon with pentagons. This quasicrystal, it's based on the purity of a dodecagon. See, I've kind of merged different tilings, all tilings that were space filling based on the dodecagon, and this is what came out. So it's purely based on the dodecagon, no other shapes.
so is
I
this an algorithm you typed in and it created this, or you drew this out, or what?
saw this.
You have to draw it.
Yeah, I made certain sets and then I copied them and then moved them over
Yeah,
along each other. Yeah, and then I can't tell you how many times I had to draw this. Jeez, because
right.
it just yeah, and my computer is overloading when I was trying to draw it every time. Like that's probably the furthest I could go out. Yeah, right here. That's the furthest I could go out without my computer crashing.
Damn, look at that. Yeah.
But this is very similar to the
Oh, excuse me.
third dimensional quasicrystal that I pulled up before, these right here. And there's the potential that the Dougherty set could be based on, say, like dodecagonal, dodecahedral, I don't know how to say that, rhombohedra, where like one angle is 30 and the other is 60 or whatnot, where the
Okay.
rhombus is like 1 to 2 ratio, something like that.
Okay. Okay. So something similar to this you could get from the Doherty set or a graph. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I've been talking about with Terrence and the Electric View and Neil and Jim and Eugene and other physicists and showing them that Birkeland currents can and are created with these quasi-crystalline lattice structures that go out, and space filling structures can be put inside of them, uh, like those geodesics there. The whole thing can be laid out in a grid of geodesics, and the hyperbolic geodesics, and that's what Terrence Howard was working with his shapes with doing, and um, Michael Evans was working doing those shapes as well. And you start to build these bridges, these space bridges, and these water bridges, and I think it's really cool. Earlier, I don't know, I had a thought about how I've heard before that oxygen is like electricity, or like, yeah, oxygen is like electricity. And then I've also heard that water is like electricity. And if you put it all together, like, it's crazy how much oxygen is like electricity.
Well,
Uh,
with the electron orbitals, yeah, I mean, it has electrons on it, so there would be an electrical component, electrical function of it. Or with
Well,
H2O.
I guess some people are saying that water is electricity.
That's funky.
And if you start thinking about it, the collapse of it and things like that, and memory and retention, and
Oh, if you've seen before the H2O, the ratio from the two oxygen is phi, and the ratio from the oxygen to the hydrogen is 1. So
if they were able to measure that,
I don't know. It may be a fake diagram. It's something I saw online.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of fake stuff online, but I mean, I'm sure it could be measured, and it might be true. It makes sense. It makes sense comparatively working with all the lattices and grids and structures that you and I have both been working with.
When you look at how compounds come together, they make very basic geometry.
Can we look at your grid while we talk more? That the grid that you had up.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Like the farthest away, I was just kind of spacing out looking at it, and it's something pretty we can look at and talk about. I mean, you're pretty enough too there, gentlemen, but with the
I was gonna pull up the algorithm cheat sheet so that you can have it. I'll just send it to you some other time. My Facebook seems to be going a bit slow. Yeah. Here we go. I'm currently in a very large project, the biggest project I've ever done, and I'd love to relate it to the Dougherty set if when that's possible.
what are you working on?
Well, actually, I can pull it right up. It is the morphing of these honeycombs. So with
This is what Phil might be talking about. I wish I could call Phil and have him on here because he had a DMT trip and he started crying from his visuals, his geometric visuals. My best friend, and I'm like, dude, you had it. And he's been like crying and drawing it and like talking about it. I'm like, yeah. So I wanted to see this. Um, we'll turn the stuff after the math from the beginning into a video here, but keep going.
yeah, this is a little set I've been working on for a while. Um, Working on it today and yesterday, just doing this. But see, from the DMT, there was this very clear vision of like, you know, the number 5 on a die. It was
Hmm.
like that, but it was third dimensional, and it was a whole honeycomb, just full space filling, and it was like the cubic honeycomb. But I realized that everything was based on this set, and from all the points of the die, those 5 points in the die, they were rippling outwards towards each other. And so uh, that was a huge thing that came back from the DMT trip with me. And from it, I've been modeling how like this is a octahedron and it's morphing into uh, a rhombic dodecahedron. Here, I'll take off shadows. I mean X-ray. Yeah, there we go. The rhombic dodecahedron, and then and I'm going to animate this whole series. It's crazy how all of this morphs, but if I go ahead and get rid of the blue, there we go. And then it goes into the this other shape. This is the Runsick cubile. Yeah, and so it will morph through these frustrums will expand. This seems a bit odd. It's doing wonky stuff. Oh, I know why. No, I don't know why. Well, anyhow, it's been a work in progress. And it
It's
expands until it makes, you know, different sets. But yeah, it can be put within Oh, I see. I see why that is now. Yeah, I see why I was doing that. Well, I'll save it for when I finish the animation and all of the huge project, but yeah, I'll have different honeycombs morphing, and it creates this.
Your mouse is on your face.
What?
Your mouse is on your face.
Thank you. Oh, you said you to pull up the. Yeah, I'm still screen sharing. Okay. Well, yeah, it brings up the whole space is made out of these honeycombs, and I think that the morphing, the warping of how particles move, or the orbitals, electron orbitals, are based on hyperbolic sets, first based on Euclidean sets, but it's everything in our universe must be based on some divine geometry that morphs. So
yes, morphologies of ultimately affine structures that are not. That's why, and they have to not be able to touch. So it's like they have to be hollow. The whole thing has to be hollow and expandable and contractible. And when we go into hyperfit rage and turn into different humans, like I'm looking at a locust right now, um, on my wall. It's a picture of a grasshopper. What it turns into when they go into crazy mode and breeding mode. Does that happen for humans? How many other creatures does that happen for, where they just same creatures, same DNA, just or just completely, sorry, two different like creatures. One's like way bigger than the other one, and you can't even compare them almost because they look like different. So morphologies on the biological scale and morphologies on the uh man, look at that tiling. Is that feedback? Is those lines feedback, or are those lines part of it? Those white lines.
those white lines are part of the honeycomb. They just kind of
Part of the
see.
grids.
I was trying to lay stuff over the top of each other. There was some dissonance in the field, like the lines didn't want to match up perfectly, so it kind of makes certain lines look thicker because there's actually two lines there.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
there's supposed to be one line, so it's extremely close to what the yeah it is. It's the whole. It's the right. It's all right. Um, Now these lines in this set, they go on forever, and they make, geez, like this whole first center part can be found one tile out, and then it makes that whole center part to the fifth tile out, uh, 5 tiles apart, and it does it again, and then it does, and so it's creating the same dodecagon rings within itself, within itself, within itself, and then it's repeating those within the dodecagon rings themselves. So like right here, this center is also right here. It's also right here on a smaller scale. It's also right here on a larger scale. And
Yeah.
it's all composed of straight lines that are continuous to infinity.
Uh-huh.
So it's a multi-layered fractal quasicrystal harmonic set. And if I can pull up a video on this, there was another similar sort of harmonic set that's one of my favorite things I've ever done. Yeah, it should be not too far down here. Oh, wonderful, it's right here. Make sure that there's no music. There we go. And I don't know if you can speed these up, but yeah, it's a progression of tiling, and it has a harmonic set that keeps expanding and expanding. And there's a simpler way to diagram this with just octagons, but this is using two-part tiling. And it relates back to that, the DMT visions I don't know if you've ever been inside or seen Islamic temples, Chinese temples, how closely they resemble the experience themselves.
I've been in my bedroom watching it on TV. I haven't been in the cathedrals myself, but yeah, man, they're gorgeous. That's one of the things in the world that I probably will never see.
Well, we got to go out sometime together then. Like, I'll pull
Uh,
up. Check
Go
this out.
ahead.
Bingo. Images. This stuff is absurd. These are real temples. Look at this. Look at that. Unbelievable. Where... Yeah, and these are all handmade from like eons ago.
Can you go back one, please?
Absolutely.
One more. Oh, yeah, that one was it. Sorry, I just didn't see the bottom of it.
Okay. Yeah, well, oh yeah, and that's a ceiling. Jeez.
Wow, look at that fractal.
There's some building in Asia that's the whole building is, you look at it from a sky view, it's all a fractal, based on the heptagon, I believe. Yeah, that's the sky mandala that you enter,
Wow.
and then some other people have done their own art, but
And then there's not as that's cool.
and I recently saw some Chinese temples as well. Like, let's see if I can find any here. See, I'm not, well, sort of, but it's like where those Hindu drawings where they have you know, billions of gods on just one huge sheet.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they're
Yeah.
just
Oh, look at this. Wow. That's unbelievable. And it's not in the best resolution, but you know, imagine being there.
Mhm.
Or the, what was it? There was a place with 1,100 and whatever pillars.
I wouldn't be able to resist screaming and singing. Like, I don't care if they. Oh, I love that one.
What, this?
Just say no to non-Euclidean math.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's where it stands.
Or non-Euclidean. That's like totally one of Terrence's shapes. That's the funniest one of the shapes that Terrence has patented. And that's hilarious that it's just like on the.
It's a hyperbolic dodecahedron.
Yeah, and it looks like one of the ones that Terrence patented.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy that nobody patented it yet. Like, hey, that's fine. Do what you want with the shape. If you patent it, that's cool.
Oh, into how many things you can do with shapes, it is absolutely absurd. Even with regular polygons, just jeez.
Oh, I know. So like nobody's allowed to use the shape. Wait a minute. You can't do that. Like, what?
There is a company called Niken. I think I talked to you about them before, but they make magnetic like mattresses or pendants or whatnot, and they have properties on them where it's two-part tiling. From what I know, it might be more, but it's like, you know, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. And when your blood goes across it, it shakes the blood up. And I don't know if it quite boosts the magnetic field that you're those Cheerio, geez, centrioles that your centrioles have, perhaps, but which centrioles they take the genetic code of a cell and they pull it apart, and that's a major component of cellular division, in mitosis, meiosis, so on. But like with Nikken mattresses, they have these two-part tilings and they shake the blood and they oxygenate it and all this other stuff. And so Nikken, they took all sorts of two-part tiling grids and they patented them so that no other magnetic company could use them. And there's an absurd number of patents they have, but I've been thinking of making my own mattress based on the same concept, because I think I found a pattern that they have not found as vortex shear. I don't know how to check through the logs if they patent it or not, but you find one of these patents, I mean, one of these forms that they haven't found, and it's worth money.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why Terrence is patenting all these different shapes. It is worth money. They're all worth money. And Terrence literally worded it to me like, these motherfuckers were stupid enough to let me patent it. And he knows exactly what he's talking about because it's extremely powerful. And that's why he's doing what he's doing, working with a bunch of individuals that I had once working with now, and there's many multiple facets of crews that are working together at the same time right now, getting a lot more done than we could be getting done by ourselves. And I'm very honored that you've taken up the stewardship of taking this into your hands and taking it, dismantling it, the Dougherty set. I'm just thrilled that you're finding all this wonderful stuff inside of it, because this is I was listening to a Thoughty 2 podcast the other day, and they were talking about how hard it is to create and have new thought. And
what do you mean by that?
How hard it is to create and have new thoughts or new stories. It's almost impossible, dude. It's really, really hard. If you look at all stories since the beginning of time, there's like 7 plots that they all fit in. And it's just, and they all fit in within these parameters of these plots. And it's like, wow, we can't think out of the box of 7 plots. Like, I'm sure there's movies that are different and stories that are different here and there. But he was really breaking it down at how hard it is to have new thought and new ideas. And then I remembered how much new thoughts are created doing geometry. There you go. That's what you're looking for.
For the square root 2.
Yeah. So it's literally circle for circle literally based off of that 100%.
I'm gonna take a screenshot of this so I can draw some diagrams of it and take a look at it further.
So that's why I put it there in plain sight, literally right on the Dougherty set front page. It looks kind of boring and bland, but hey, dude, it's actually...
Oh, it's beautiful.
I rarely show that image of the breakdown of that because it shows off so much of the information within the set. So, but the problem with patents is you have to patent it there's a million ways to work a patent. So you have to patent it a million ways. You know, there's parts of things, I don't know how much of what part you can get patented or shapes or whatever, but like, leave it as it is. You know what I mean? Like, platonic solids or the platonic solids, they were stolen. This is another thing, ideas being stolen. They're Archimedean solids. They're not platonic solids. It's who's going to take the reins and represent it the best and show the world the best way to understand this fucking information. That's honestly what it comes down to. And that's why uh, Shakespeare has so many of his plays and everything were him stealing all the stories that existed around at the time. They were all plagiarized. They were existing stories that were stories before, but he just decided to write them better. He was a better poet, a better writer. And this is what the future is, creating these. This is a shape. When I showed Terrence that, he got super excited. He's like, "You created your own, man, buddy. Go get a patent, blah blah blah." Like there's so many more to create. I'm like, "Terrence, there's hundreds of thousands of these. I'm not going to go get hundreds of thousands of patents." I'm like, literally, there's so many to find. This is just one little fun one that was created out of a fold, and it is a foliation of light. Um, and
It's beautiful. Yeah.
thank you.
All these
So
all these compositions can be looked at from very basic sets, um, and very basic algorithm. Like I'm seeing how there's a triangular spiral in here, and then
yes,
it's been given curvature along the vector as it's being, yeah, dragged outwards, so it's getting thinner and thinner.
yeah, it's similar to I found the Treon ray right around the time when I was creating that, or like maybe I don't know around there. Anyway,
You got introduced to Michael Evans
oh yes, absolutely.
when you were making that.
Uh, I think I knew Michael Evans before, but then after I created, I'm like, that's the fucking Treon ray. So then
Yeah.
I posted it as I think I even titled Treon ray inside of it because I like giving credit to people who find stuff and whether it's patented or their property or not, you know, it's just the right ethical thing to do.
I was going to say, uh, to the Tryon ray, there is a composition. So we currently use, um, when we draw out how these spirals work, we'll use sine waves on a two-part system. So there's the longitudinal and the latitudinal, right? And or the electric and magnetic. Now, if I pull it up, I'll pull it up.
That's awesome seeing you get a bleep up from the electric view.
Yeah,
I
I think that's from Skype.
know, I love it.
Yeah, this is a good video on it. So there's right here, you'll see these two petals kind of put together, and they're octahedrons, but these octahedrons, they, let me pull off the music, they get smaller and thinner, yeah, right here. So they get thinner, and then they get larger, and they elongate. And if we look at waves like this, instead of having it called transversal polarization, transversal is when you take, here, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Go back to Skype.
I can see you.
Yeah. So transversal polarization is when you take two planes, like a flat plane, and you put them like this. And you have a spiral going along it, which is the waveform that we're measuring. And when it goes through one of these planes, so it goes through one of these planes, is when you measure it. And then with elliptical polarization, we have, and they're just two different systems of measurement, but we use both. And so with elliptical polarization, you'll have like a rectangular prism, and it goes long, so like a cube being elongated is a rectangular prism,
Yeah.
and it has the vector in the center, and then the wave goes along this rectangular prism. And when it reaches the top point, we measure as electric, and when it reaches the side, touches the side, we measure as
Magnetic. Yeah.
So you're kind of having like a sphere. There's also spherical polarization where you're having a sphere move through it and all these other systems. But that's where I'm trying to go off on a whole new branch with hyperbolic.
Expandables. They're like expandables. Sorry to interrupt, but like looking at your sets, they expand and contract almost along the fulcrum, right?
Yeah, and this is embedded in the Dougherty set, although it is a slight bit different, and I still have to diagram that. Yeah, and so, here, I'll clip it here. You're having these, I'm calling this new concept bipyramidal polarization, because you're not using, instead of elliptical polarizations, it's bipyramidal. And it's using bipyramids, so a pyramid and a pyramid put together from the base. So two pyramids put together at the base is a bipyramid. And it's using this system, or bicones is another way of doing it.
Okay.
But it's using this system instead of elliptical. And the other word that I'm using it for it is a birhombic polarization as an alternative to transversal polarization. And I think that we can measure systems better and even simpler in this way. It's more of a Euclidean way of going about it, but you can create curvature. You can make these like concave and convex octahedrons or concave and convex bipyramids, if you know what I'm saying.
And you could do the same thing with Treon rays. These are like Treon rays
Yes.
nested.
The problem I had with the Tryon ray, though, is that, see, we use a system already that is
Wait, can I interrupt? See right there at the top of your screen? That's like that, the same thing that you got going on, and they can expand and contract. And
right,
yeah, and they can expand and contract, but it's a network. It's a network of tubes, because tubes are more efficient. If you think about how all things in nature are fed by tubes, it would make sense that the universe is tube fed. See what I'm saying? So everything it's like how you just showed your geometry. But and it shows that you can do it. You can do it the way that you're doing it, but you can do it many different ways. And I think that's what we keep coming back to in this cyclical type of conversation. Oh, I forgot I even posted that one.
is wild.
Yeah, that was trippy. Ah, looks crazy.
Well,
That's looking down a cylinder, yeah.
we modernly use a system that's based on longitudinal and latitudinal. And when we try to introduce a different polygon other than a square, like a triangle, which the Tryon ray simplified is a hyperbolic
Football.
triangular bipyramid.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Thanks for spitting it out finally.
The triangle it uses in the center is like, what's that called? The Rublex triangle? I might be way off.
Reuleaux
Yeah,
triangle.
the Reuleaux triangle. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a triangular bipyramid, so it's just another way of looking at the system. And perhaps light does, like, that's crazy to think. If light functions through that system, if light is a triangular bipyramid, and then the electrical universe and is a and magnetic universe is a square bipyramid.
Now you're thinking that there's more than one universe. This is screwing up my thing. No, I'm kidding. Screwing with my thinking. That's way too much now.
Just two geometries overlapping in different funky ways.
No,
Actually,
I know. I see what you're saying. I think I see what you're saying. You could put squares over this. You could put squares over what you were showing. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
I did both of these. I did. I think I did. Yeah. So tri the trion ray or the triangular bipyramid is supposed to be in here, but instead I use the square bipyramid. Um, and you can kind of see where it would be put in. It's put in the diagonal of the square. So, like when you put the diagonals of the square together, you have the tetrahedron of putting me the cube. Diagonals of the cube, you have the tetrahedron, right? And so those should be trion rays, but then on the other vertices, you'll have square bipyramids, on the regular um, side
Dude, these are
lines.
gorgeous. I love how you're surfing through this too. It's beautiful. You're like in a universe of these floating everywhere.
Yeah. It,
The software is great. I want to play with it. We're gonna have to
oh,
maybe.
if you want to do if you want to download SketchUp and do a Skype call with me, I can guide you through everything that I know on it of how to do.
Yeah,
And
I'd
so
love to play
it's
around on it.
very easy for you to make these.
You can
Yeah.
probably put images in there too, right? Like real images.
Real images.
Yeah, can you like
Yeah,
put photos in the background? Add
yeah,
photo?
yeah, yeah, you
But
can.
I see you haven't though because it's so it's man, this is gorgeous.
See, I haven't really played with that too much because I haven't found a need for it yet, but I could probably do
Yeah,
it sometime. Yeah.
because you can model right off of a photo. You can drop a photo in and then model on it. Like one of my photos to make it your concepts come across easier.
Yeah.
Because then you could show people literally online like here's the Doherty set, here's this shape, this is what it also makes. Like
I was
three.
seeing some of these done by the modeler Terrence Howard is working with.
Okay, yeah, David Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And
well, he's working with a couple, Chris Dunn and David Johnson,
okay.
or
This
Chris Seeley. I misspoke. My bad. I had to correct that.
is really.
Chris Seeley.
Can you tell me those names one more time? I'm gonna write them down real quick.
Yes, Chris Monk Seeley. He's working with Terrence and David Johnson. Um,
Thank you.
yep.
This grid
So
here.
we'll talk more about some of that stuff later after the episode or whenever. But
Yeah.
Fractal Lady's working with them now. I hear as well.
Fractal lady. Okay.
Fractal Woman. You know her, right? Not yet,
Uh,
maybe.
yeah. Yeah.
I think we talked about
I
her.
think I know who you're talking about.
Lori Gardy.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
um. Oh, she has an awesome tattoo, right?
She has a bunch of awesome tattoos. Lori Gardy, she's just awesome. I just love her in general. Might be a different lady though, not the one that has the hypertrochoid or whatever.
Not her.
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna write that name down too.
Yeah, she's on the list. I think if I haven't wrote her on the list, there's still a bunch more people on the list to interview. Um, uh, and and then I have people who want to pay to play. So I think that a lot of this stuff, uh, I have a lot to show off about the Doherty set, and you could add a lot of content too. So this could be a way for actually starting to get some income for making stuff like this.
Yeah. The video I just showed was based on it's all on square roots, and it's a fractal. It's a cubic grid, and it's filled with tetrahedrons and other platonic solids. But what I wanted to say about it is that, well, is how those platonic solids are nested in necessarily. And so, and I'm curious if we can do this within the Dougherty network, diagram it as a constant, as this is one piece and this is composed of this is when I was just first really starting to get into learning how to use the program, but it uses square cylinders, and that's a cube with a tetrahedron inside of an octahedron inside of a icosahedron, and it's showing these shapes in a frame. And these can be simplified. Actually, I've done a video on the simplification, but they're all within the flower of life, like so right about here. Yeah. And so this, yeah, if you're familiar with the not the Penrose pentagons, but the Penrose triangle, which is the impossible triangle.
I don't know if I know that one.
Okay. Well, I might as well pull it up because it's what the grid is composed of.
Yeah. This is good. I love new triangles.
I bet you'll know this. You've seen this?
Oh yeah, that's MC Escher's triangle, bro.
Yeah.
That is not Penrose. You cannot call that Penrose, dude. That's MC Escher.
No, it is. Is because the guy who claimed it was his last name was Penrose, but it actually came before him. There was someone else that was the first person to really bring it about. But MC Escher then took inspiration from that and started drawing a lot of these shapes.
Yeah. So it involves multiple thievery, and then it's named improper. See, this is the bullshit. This is why I named the Dougherty set the Dougherty set, and people were upset that I named it that. Because like things that have origin should just be named after the last name of the person, like a Feynman diagram, or whatever it is. Anyway, like an ohms are ohms in science.
Here you can kind of actually, I think I did a video and I posted it on the Penrose triangle that was very clean. Oh geez, this is like some of the first stuff I was ever doing.
It looks gorgeous. Everything looks beautiful. How long? So you've only been doing this for how long?
Well, only seriously for a year.
Yeah, but you have these old drafts from working for how many years have you been into this?
Like 2 years, probably. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Wonderful, man. Very there's a lot of content here to look at.
So the impossible triangle is an actual it can be physically constructed in the third dimension. It can be, but it's not connected like it looks like when it's in, the second dimension. See, I'm trying to find a really good video or GIF or whatever, but like, if I put it this way, the impossible triangle is based on, like, if you take a hexagonal grid paper and you draw on it, it creates this system. Let me see if I can. I'm going to go back to the Skype call and I'm going to pull up something. Let's see if I can pull up something. Okay. That diagrams this exactly. Because I think I've saved it in some of my, on my Instagram. Now I was looking for how I'm having a brain fart. What was I looking for again? I'm sorry.
I forget exactly why you got off.
It was the hyperbolic. Was it the hyperbolic? Jeez, that happens. Well, lovely. Oh yes,
So,
yes, the impossible, yeah, Penrose impossible triangle. I was gonna pull up something on this exactly that's just unbelievable. Yeah, I'm getting close now. Here we are. Okay. So this is by Tiago Hans, and he is a phenomenal artist. And here it shows MC Escher's Impossible Staircase. I don't know if you can see my screen.
yeah.
Yeah. His Impossible Staircase, and it's diagrammed, and this is in hexagonal tiling.
Hmm.
And all these sets are, this is also by Tiago Hans. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But yeah, and all this impossible geometry is based on this grid.
Oh,
And
nice.
so in the second dimension, but in the third dimension, it's all cubic. So it's all like, you know, four lines of a cube put together, and you'll have the impossible triangle.
Uh-huh.
Pardon me, three. But
So like this.
like this, yeah. And when this is set at the, let me turn that music off. My computer is overheating. But yeah, it goes through the whole set, and you look inside, and then you realize, like this next part, I show how there's different tilings to this, where you can take the set, and here we are. We can put gaps between them, or you can put them closer together so they all fit together. And this was straight off of DMT. Yeah.
That's similar to the stuff that I was drawing. Yeah, back how they lay out together and touch and create waveforms. Yeah, that oscillate between them. The blue and red are the waveforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is like the cubic wave, similar to some of the cubic wave stuff that Russell does.
Yeah. There was about Russell's work. Wells graph. Yeah, here we go. And the breathing cubes. I don't know if I can find this right away. I know I posted it on my page, so it should come up easier. Albums. Let's see if he has it in videos. Okay, here we are. Yeah. And so this shows the Russellian view
Hmm.
with cubes and octahedrons expanding. And it's exactly the same concept as what I've been diagramming with the expanding honeycombs. But I've been seeing how there is the only mechanic isn't based on octahedrons. There's so many other ways that the honeycomb expands into different space-filling honeycombs and morphs. Um, and now the octahedron is one way, and this was a absolutely beautiful video. And he takes these octahedrons and he expands them. This is right here, it's the truncated cube, and it makes a honeycomb that's space filling, completely space filling out of the truncated cube and octahedrons. And then he expands it further, and this is a cube octahedral, and you have a cube octahedron, which he's highlighting right now. Right there in the orange is the cube octahedron, and the whole honeycomb is composed of cube octahedrons and octahedrons, and it fills space. There's no gaps. And then here he expands it further, and this one's beautiful. And he's only expanding the octahedrons. That is a truncated octahedron, and the way he's diagrammed it, it makes the bitruncated cubic honeycomb, which is only composed of truncated octahedrons. So there's actually no octahedrons in this one. It's just only truncated octahedrons. And a further expansion creates the cube octahedral again, and here you can see it has 4 cube octahedrons and then the octahedral gaps. And it keeps going on, you know. Yeah. And here it shows the cuboctahedron again, with the centerpiece being the octahedron. So that goes over like 5, 6, I don't know how many I counted, but it goes over like 5 or 6 honeycombs. But the diagrams that I'm working on with the honeycomb morphing, they go over all honeycombs. Right now I'm only working on the square set, but the morphology, the way that it works, how the it's frustum mechanics are matrix magical. And the frustum, if you think so, frustum, some people might not know what that is. It's like if you take a camera, it looks outward, and the rectangle that it's looking outwards at, the base of that rectangle is the frustum, and then the viewpoint is where the camera is, and so it's a pyramid that goes outwards, and you kind of put two of these frustum things together, and you'll have a bipyramid. And how it's kind of like seeing the universe in a way where vision is getting wider and narrower inside of a mirror room, inside of a cubic mirror room.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that, how the vision gets wider or smaller inside the cubic mirror room, it completely changes how the honeycomb will work. What honeycomb will be within the mirror set, what honeycomb will fill it. And so the frustums, they will morph, these pyramids will morph from square pyramids into octahedral pyramids, and you'll soon have honeycombs with great rhombic cuboctahedrons and all sorts of funky shapes. Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. RobertLovesPie.net. Have you seen this guy's page?
I think you showed it to me maybe not. I don't know. I don't know this page.
Yeah, this isn't what I was looking for. It's the right page, but I'm looking for the honeycombs. I don't know if this has a search bar. I haven't. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, okay, this is just links. Yeah, bow tie polyhedra. I don't know if you're familiar with the bow tie polyhedra. Beautiful works. And how they compose also different honeycombs, bow tie honeycombs. But yeah, this Robert Loves Pie is a great source for some of this information. If not, I mean, you can surf on Wiki for some good stuff on honeycombs as well.
Wow. Yeah, this is great. So this is where you get some of the crazy names of some of this stuff, huh?
Yeah, I'm always see, like, I find myself diagramming these shapes first, and then I'm like, geez, this is amazing.
I gotta know the name of it, right?
Like, I find out that someone else has already diagrammed it. Like,
well, you're lucky. See, you're lucky that you're finding them and have names for them. I myself have a lapse of names. There's no names for the crap that I'm finding with all the hyperbolic, as far as the hyperbolic shapes and stuff. So I have to name them. And both of us should, and probably often do, find ourselves in an area where we're like, well, this needs a name now.
yeah.
Geometers naturally do that. It comes with the territory. We're neologists, so we make up words, and that's why Buckminster Fuller just used so many different words to describe different stuff, and then had to come up with a slew of words and as well. Like syntropy is one of his. What's that?
What does that mean?
Syntropy. I don't even know. I can look it up here.
Yeah, how do you spell it? You tell me how to spell it.
Syntropy, maybe.
It sounded like it would have been a bigger word than that. Syntropy, okay. Uncountable pathology, the coalescence of two diseases into one. A wholesome association with others. Looks like it's an anatomical word. I don't think this is quite the word.
Maybe it was a different word. But that's a cool word.
Yeah.
The occasional tendency of two diseases to coalesce into one. Huh.
That's kind of a funky thing.
A
Oh, I was.
pathological state of wholesome association with others. A number of similar structures inclined in one general direction, such as the ribs.
This is Were you thinking synergenetics?
Yeah, synergetics is what I meant, not syntropy.
Okay. Yeah.
Synergetics, and that was a book of his, and uh,
It's a study of transformation.
and tensegrity as well. Do you know
Yeah.
that one?
I think I know what it would be about just by how it sounds, but let's check it out.
The
There's
the
a
care
lot of ways that I don't know. I mean, I'm just starting in this research, and I feel like we're all just starting because
This is a really good one for you.
the
You
care.
see the Did you see images that came up with it?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How it folds.
How
Yeah.
things
Oh
don't
yeah.
touch and how there's an energy between them holding them with strings, basically
And it's like,
structures holding structural design and architecture.
dude, I've got to use this word.
Yeah.
I got to learn how to use this word properly too. Yeah.
Yeah. Tensegral structures, tensegrity, that kind of stuff. That's Bucky. But yeah, the more we deal with this stuff, the more words we have to make up.
Yeah.
And it makes
This.
it even harder to teach it to people, which is like it's tough. It's already a tough thing to start to get into, unless like you're driven, like you and I, in our own respective ways. And anyway, yeah, it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Oh
Once you
yeah.
start getting towards this stuff, you have to be like driven to get into it even more.
We are going to go in a direction. I feel that we're going to go in a direction that is geometry based, and it's going to take quite a while. But all technology, everything's going to be based on topological optimization. Um, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and we're going to understand
Structural,
plans
structure,
work.
like structural, like smartware, like smart suits, like topological kind of construction.
Dude, if like a wet like swimming dive wear whatever like that was made out of these honeycombs morphing in different ways to go tighter or loosen up in water pressure and all this crazy stuff. Wow. Yeah, we could be in a future where all that stuff is a reality and nanofibers and crazy
Oh
stuff.
yeah, it's that a lot of that stuff is starting to become multiple realities right now. The structures that Under Armour is coming out with, and like, um, I just kind of funny, but heard an ad from Armour that talked about stretchy jeans for men, and Joe Rogan was like talking about wearing them and sporting them. I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I wore stretchy jeans the other day, and they were the most comfortable things in the world.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, damn, dude. And then I realized I had an ass because I had like these stretchy like jean things on that were like kind of yoga pants. Yep, I just admitted to wearing yoga pants.
Nothing wrong with that. I wear yoga pants too. They have yoga pants for men.
I mean, strapped tight like freaking skullduggery.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't think I wear those.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
Okay.
It's like men in tights.
Yeah.
There's a reason why superheroes and rock stars wear tights, man. They're comfortable.
Yeah. This is my favorite honeycomb. Any honeycomb I've seen so far. It's called the truncated tetraoctahedral. And so if you think of a octahedron, oh, not what I meant to pull up. Sun. Yeah, that one's kind of funky mechanic too, but you think of like an octahedron. If you've seen Walter Russell's diagrams with the octahedrons expanding,
Hmm.
um, you have an octahedron, and then it can truncate into a truncated octahedron, which is the green part. So you kind of lop off those ends, the red parts, and you'll have the truncated octahedron. And then if you lop off those green parts, you'll have a cuboctahedron. And
Okay.
and so this is called the truncated tetraoctahedral because instead of like the truncated octahedral, that would be nonsensical. Because the truncated octahedron and the cuboctahedron are both truncated octahedrons. The the cuboctahedron is just a maximum truncation of the octahedron. And then the uh, yellow and green parts are the truncated tetrahedron, where you truncate the ends on them.
Hmm.
And yeah, I found this honeycomb. I found this honeycomb, and I thought it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever found. I was like, damn, this thing is fucking gorgeous. And then I found out that it had already been discovered. But
Man,
yeah,
that sucks.
and I
That
think this is like the ultimate structure for I don't even know how to put it yet, but I'm working with these all sorts of honeycombs, and I'm finding how many morphologies come from this one in particular into other honeycombs. Like this one is like the center of all morphologies, and it's unbelievable. Yeah,
I like
there's
how it comes down to the square root of 2.
yeah.
Nice.
Well, you have there's three kinds of tiling that fill space using regular polygons. You have square tiling, and so you only use a square, and you'll tessellate it, and it will fill space. And then you have a hexagon, and you tessellate it, and it will fill space, any other flower-like structure. And then from that, you can guess what the third one is. It's equilateral triangles. And you actually have to rotate them, but you can tessellate and rotate, and with that one equilateral triangle, it will fill space. And so these are all the tiling you can do with regular polygons that fill space. And well, the thing is, these honeycombs, they're all based on these three tiling structures, but in higher dimensions, like in the third dimension, which is what I'm working with right now, uh, they're all based on those three tilings. And it's just like you draw a line, a certain expansion inwards or outwards from the square tile. And if you take like a square tiling and you turn it into cubic tiling and you rotate it, 45 degrees and then 34.58 degrees or whatever. So you're in isometric projection and you're looking at the cube, it becomes a hexagon, right? And that cubic grid, it becomes hexagonal tiling. And when you look at the honeycombs, how they morph inside that, they are all fit within the hexagonal tiling of an isometric projection using the impossible triangles, the Penrose triangles,
Hmm.
and the cubic grid. And so I think this applies for the fourth dimension and higher dimensions too, but yeah, everything is based on this flower of life structure, all space filling optimizing honeycombs. And if our universe is made out of data, made out of information, uh, I doubt there would be room for gaps, because those gaps would have to be able to store information as well. Otherwise, you have a huge hole in space right here that it doesn't work like that. We have particles that can move through that space in our current existence. So it makes sense that everything is composed of space filling grid that
Yeah.
leaves space between,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's hyperbolic or strictly convex,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's made out of straight lines or it's made out of bent lines, like your diagrams with the bent lines, or Terence Howard's with his, hyperbolic geometry. There's still space filling components. The gaps are like in the isotropic vector equilibrium, which is only one of the honeycombs, which named how it. See, the isotropic vector equilibrium is the 64 tetrahedron grid, but the whole honeycomb of that is called the tetraoctahedral honeycomb. And the tetraoctahedral honeycomb has a hyperbolic set. You can make the octahedrons convex and concave, and then you can make the tetrahedrons concave as well, and then you have these seeds between that are like the trion ray. And with those three shapes, the convex tetrahedron, the convex, I'm saying these backwards, the concave tetrahedron, the concave octahedron, and then the convex triangular bipyramid, which has now been named the trion ray. With those three solids, you can make the whole set as a hyperbolic set. And this applies for other honeycombs too. So diagramming the Dougherty set or any other set with honeycombs does work in hyperbolic sets. But it's all based on the flower of life. That's the big point that I want to exaggerate. Not exaggerate, bring out.
You can do it without the flower of life, though, too. But that is a grid, just like the isotropic vector matrix is a space filling, a space filling structure. The I think that there's many ways to do each one.
There is a friend of mine, Waylon Gomez, and he's 25. Yeah, I think he's 25. He has been studying the body, the bones, our neurological structure. He was telling me about this wild theory. Well, not theory. It's a hypothesis, but it's been tested, and it's reproducible. But I don't even know what to call it. They took this old guy and a young person, and they repeated this experiment again and again. But they take the cells off like a cell sample off both of them, and look at them under the microscope whilst they were conscious and awake and aware. And what they found is that there was a huge difference between the cell samples. The older one looked more shriveled and stuff was going on with it, and the younger one looked more plump. And so then they put them both under anesthesia and knocked them out straight cold. And they took a new cell sample whilst they were knocked out, unconscious, and they looked at both cell samples under the microscope whilst they were unconscious, and what they found, which is absurd, is that you could hardly tell, like there was no difference between the two samples. None, pretty much.
Wow.
And the thing about that is that, see, our brain sends a signal down into our cells that relates to how we think our health is. So when we get into the placebo is not something to really mock or laugh at. It is how the body works, how the body heals
The
itself.
most important, yeah, it's the most important of all of our health is the placebo.
Yeah.
How well are you really? Everybody says it's a shitty day out, and I'm fucking bright and chipper every single time. And it doesn't matter what the weather is out. That's usually my attitude. And it's mind over matter. And I learned that at a young age. You can be depressed as hell. You can be sad, or you can be suicidal, or you can just enjoy the heck out of this, dude, because it's very enjoyable. And it offers itself, the universe, it offers itself to be very enjoyable just to look at. Imagine that. Think of all the creatures, how much creatures get joy out of looking at things. And then think of birds, and they're always staring. They're always looking around. Like,
Yeah.
what are they looking at? What the hell are they looking at? Like they can't. They got good vision, like bird's eye view.
I'm
Like
seeing my cat jump around and run around the house like he's looking at some fourth dimensional being or something.
man, vision is all of the sensory organelles, and all of the sensory organs are
Didn't Da Vinci say that like vision was the number one, the first most amazing sense?
according to for humans, yeah, because our brain and our umvelt is built based off of that, and just like a stingray is or any deep sea creature, their umvelt is built off of uh, mostly touching and tasting.
Okay, you've got me pulling it up. This recent photo that I saw. But as I'm pulling it up, I'm gonna say some stuff. Yeah, that back to um, the placebo effect and how it affected their bodies. How you think you feel, if you think you're old, your body will mimic that
Yeah,
thought, and it will work in a system where it's old. Or if you think you're thriving, you will be thriving. And
yeah,
it's absurd to see it in live samples. And especially how our consciousness, because the sample was taken off the body and put on a microscope, so it's not on the body anymore. But our electron consciousness was able to superposition or entangle its consciousness somehow to that cell sample that had been taken away from our body, and it still retained that information. So, yeah, like I was talking to you before about how our government, how they take like blood samples when you're born. It's required that you have to have blood sample taken by the
some
government to have a birth certificate.
yeah, yeah. I guess you're right.
And if you're if
And they take your first poop, those bastards.
they do,
Yeah, your merconin or whatever it's called. The first poop, it's like pure black. It like I
that's
wonder I wonder how much nutrients or what that black goo really is. And I never thought about that, and I never heard anybody talk about this either.
I didn't know they took your
Every
poop.
baby's first poop they take,
What?
and well, yeah, of course, it's a stool sample. I mean, like they want to test it. They want to test the mom for dope. That's how they get everything. They test everything out of that.
They test if the baby has superpowers, and so if it does, they take it out before it takes over the universe.
Or they know what number, what category to what kind of social security number to give it. Why does mine always have that extra C on the end? Does yours have a C on the end? I didn't think so. Mine stands for cat power. I got kitty cat pow pow.
All right, let's see. I might not have saved it on here. Yeah, it looks like I didn't. But I got some awesome things on here. I was seeing this recently.
Are
Oh,
you the judge of awesome, or should I be the judge of it?
go ahead and be the judge if you want.
All right, you said it's awesome. Let's see. Music.
Yeah. And this
Yeah,
is
good screen, bro.
this is a pixelated way of showing the. Oh shoot! I cut it out.
I
I
can't
got.
see your screen though. I see your face.
Oh, oh! I'm not.
No, that's why I was saying like I was messing with you because I can't see shit, bro.
Okay, okay. It's on now. It's on now.
All right, yeah, no, I got it.
So this is sort of like a, and it's not the accurate model, but it's a concept of pixelated bipyramids or bipyramidal polarization. I love what this person does. How they take geometric concepts and they add them to music.
Can you turn it down a tiny bit?
Yeah,
It's just spiking on the levels. Okay, so yeah, they're using they're coming along with the geometry. Yeah. I've I'm sure many people have noticed that sound waves and sine waves look very much like forests, like trees refracted and reflected in the water, and like a forest line, and like a lot of things look like this. And but yeah, I haven't seen someone actually take some geometry and make it like the bars like that. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. I've
Oh,
saved
little
them.
baby bunny.
Baby bunny up here.
I just thought I saw a little old wise bunny, little rabbit.
Yeah,
So cute.
this is all stuff I've saved on my Instagram that I was like, I gotta revisit this,
Yeah.
or this is, really sweet. Was this the necklace you were talking about with the earlier that Nasium and it was glass, like fake or glass or whatever you were saying
I'm sorry.
at the
I didn't
beginning of
mean to
the
say it was fake. I honestly don't know the if I did say that, the process of how it's made.
yeah,
But they sell them for like $1,000, like $1,200,
Jesus,
and they're this like glass that's been cut and then just has like edges. They're cool. They feel
yeah.
cool. They probably have a cool energy to them. They might even be charged by something, but like I don't spend that kind of money on anything, like especially a necklace.
This is a friend of mine, um,
Really.
and he works on the
Can I
Giovanni
buy one? Can I
app.
buy one of those?
Yeah, yeah. Contact him. Um, Infinite Alchemy
I want to
on
buy one.
or Faraday. Yeah, I think he goes by Faraday something or Infinite Alchemy. But yeah, some more Islamic temples. Just look at that beauty. Oh yeah, a whole bunch of these I've been saving. But okay, I've been looking for someone that is really good with origami and
Me
not
too.
just yeah
Yeah.
with particularly um, shape morphing origami. And this is one person that makes some beautiful stuff, but it's not quite where I was looking for. And they make a whole lot of stuff. But I'm trying to figure out how to take a large equilateral triangle and fold it down so it becomes a hexagon, and then fold it down so it becomes a smaller equilateral triangle, all with one single, push, one single motion.
Yeah, like
And
a thrust.
yeah, this is the knee joint. Oh, that was so sweet.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Whole lot of good stuff. And then I don't know if I've shown you this before. This is the glass worker I was telling you about, Dan Hoffman, and that's the DMT molecule as a mandala.
Nice. Is that really what DMT looks like, though?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
I've never seen the molecule look that symmetric before. Usually, all molecules are asymmetric.
It would just be this hexagon, this pentagon, and then this protein
Oh,
here. So
but they
this
put it
is
around. They
6 of them
rotated
put
it.
together.
Yeah, just to make it pretty.
Well, when it's secreted from the pineal gland, it will do stuff like this.
Maybe. Where's your source on that? Just giving you a hard time. I mean, it might do stuff like that.
This is what I was talking about with H2O. Oh wait, no, this is O2H. Oh.
Oh wow.
Yeah. 5 to 1 sort of thing.
What's O2H?
I don't know. Wait.
Oh yeah,
It's H2O. I'm just messing with you.
oxygen. Is it?
No, it's 2HO.
What the fuck? Yeah, you see, the person making that probably didn't even know what they were doing, and they mislabeled it. It might be H2O. They just mislabeled it.
Yeah. But I don't even know.
I don't know either. You can't believe almost everything you see on the internet. You can't believe, but that's one thing that remains true. Geometry is real, and art is real too.
I don't
You
know.
know, but you can change someone's art, but no matter what, geometry remains like the purest and most true way to put proof. It's one of the only way to proof things.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever felt this before. Like, you see this photo here, where you'll have like a lizard, but as it does one move, any move that it does, it fills all of these different structures with a single tile series, and it's wild. Like, having an experience like this, any move that you do as a person does that. It
Oh
goes.
right, yeah, that's like a DMT. Yeah, that's totally what DMT does. Or like, I guess maybe ketamine, a K-hole.
I don't know about ketamine. I thought ketamine was more like a more like cocaine, sort of in the experience,
No,
more psychotropic.
no, ketamine.
Is psychedelic?
Okay, like Joe Rogan's hard on like talking about DMT.
Yeah.
I'm I'm like I'm like I'm like uh the go-to guy, or not the go-to guy, that I'm rooting for ketamine. Joe Rogan's rooting for DMT. Like it's my drug. Like it does magic to me like this. It takes me and and does what the universe always wanted to do with me. Uh to me, to make me the magical superhuman being that we all are. And it reminds you of this. That's what ketamine does to me. This is sweet. This is like a mixture of the Mandelbald and Alex Gray.
I think it's the Julian
Cool.
set. Pardon me, Julia set.
With that, yeah.
I'm not positive about that. Yeah,
Maybe not.
maybe not. Yeah, but beautiful nonetheless. And then, yeah, and that's made on, I believe, Mandelbub, the program.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
did you make it? No, you didn't make it.
I know I didn't, but the program is fairly easy if you ever wanted to try Mandelbub, and you can make wild stuff with it. And you can go inside these fractals and move around inside them, and it's just oh yeah.
Yeah, I've played around with Mandelbulb. Uh, it is fun, but it has its limits, and then it gets boring, just like
Yeah.
anything. Just like everything in the universe, we get bored with it.
Well,
Oh, this one up here caught me on. If you scroll up one more to the left, Yeah. The mushrooms, the lightning, and the mycelium.
By Tapestry and Beyond, pardon me. Yeah.
Reminds me of don't forget his name. Don't forget his name. Forgot his name. Paul Stamets.
All Stamens.
Paul Stamets. Yeah, he's the mushroom guy, man. He cured breast cancer. STA. Yeah, right there. Stamets. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I love this guy.
yeah.
I love this guy. He does wonderful stuff.
Yeah, he's the best. The
Yeah.
best, the best, the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I am friends with him. I love his work. Beautiful stuff. And, people are coming out with all sorts of. This is Zach Covell.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah,
friends?
Zach Cobal, he's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, go back to it, please. Just just look at it for a minute. Just look at it.
It's how the music scale works, and he's diagramming the majors, minors, octaves in the Flower of Life. So this is the Flower of Life. It's just at a different projection.
Yeah, I want to interview him or have him on a talk, and if he has time, maybe more than one.
Let him know ahead of time so he can get some stuff prepped.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's how I do, boy. I'll hit him up because people know that I'm hitting people up now. So, um, I'll hit him up because really, we only know a little bit of anybody's work, any of us, until we start talking about it more.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's so much more that I have. Oh, I love that electric grasshopper.
Watch
Yeah,
this. This is. I want to paint this. I want to paint this. It's
yeah.
it's unbelievable.
This
There was
is mimicry. This is mimicry to its maximum. This is my life. Yeah, I agree.
there was a video of a okay. There's this shrimp, lobster shrimps sort of thing that's in the deep ocean, and it's so colorful in major rainbow colors. Like a rainbow lorikeet, but even crazier in colors. And it is the strongest puncher in the entire world. And oh
Yeah,
my god, it's absolutely beautiful. And its vision is it can see colors, the color spectrum way further than we can.
the lobster shrimp. I think 126 colors, eyeballs, and uh, and yeah, sonoluminescence when it smashes its fingers together. No, yes, that'll get it. That'll get it. The puncher. Yep, there it is. Mantis shrimp.
Mantis shrimp. That's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's two of them that do it. Cavitation and sonoluminescence. Light is produced, and
Yeah, this creature is unbelievable. Best vision out of all animals. I believe it's the best vision out of all animals. Strongest puncher in the world. Such a small freaking creature. And it's faster than a mantis in striking. Prey mantis, which is one of the fastest striking creatures in the entire world.
it's underwater.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
doesn't show off the colors as well as that other video that I found, but yeah.
Okay, so this is part of my theory is that see
Boom.
that boom,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and it's
Beautiful.
just a punch. And there's another one that has a claw that pounds together and does the same thing.
Do you know the name of that other creature that you're talking about?
Uh, no,
These are butterflies, dude.
Yeah, I know. It's just incredible.
My girlfriend and I, we went hiking one day, and we stopped by the river, and we saw this mother butterfly giving birth, and we just sat there for 30 minutes as it gave birth.
Nice.
Yeah,
To
laying
little
eggs. Yeah,
eggs
laying
everywhere.
eggs, and it flew off.
Was it a pattern, like laying them right in a row?
It was really hard to see how because the eggs were so small.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, just all sorts of beautiful creatures doing all sorts of funky stuff. And geometric concepts. That's what I saved. Um, there was this. I think I know. I already told you about this vision that I had. How.
Why
Geez.
does it start with 4? It goes to 3, then to 5. It's just a random progression that an artist did,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's so cool.
Bloody amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's those stairs and the impossible triangles that I was talking about, and the Markov set, the C curve, phi ratio spirals. This is beautiful stuff. Or actually, no, this isn't phi. This is the square
Square
roots.
root. Yeah, that you can learn so much from that. It's effing incredible. Like I still try to figure out that in my head. It's so, like, to me, it's so crazy to I'm not a very good number person, but like to just look at that and be like, that's okay. So that's how you do the square, or that's just an example of square root 11. It's
It's
that
called the
simple.
spiral of Theodorus, and I'm sure some plants mimic this. Absolutely.
I love that, and it has a lot of the letters of my name. Like Theodore, my last name is Theodorty, so it's Theodo is how much we have in common on that.
All right, Theo. I didn't know it was Theo. Theodore.
Yeah, not many people know that.
I like that. You know, I've actually been thinking of taking over my brother's name. See, he was going to be called Brilliant when he was
Yeah, you
born.
told me that. I love
Yeah,
that. Name is gorgeous,
I think
brilliant,
I'm going to take that name and I'm going to call my set or my morphology like the Brilliant set.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, just absolutely incredible works all along here. Um, Stuff I've been saving over the years. And then this is about Jane Jame 108, and he talks about the phi ratio and how it does this weird configuration loop. It's a
Yeah,
little bit
I've seen this video, but
okay.
for the sake of time and the viewers, I'm probably gonna try to end it before I said my last name because I don't want that to be pounded out there in the universe.
I thought
So
if we should post this video or if this was just a
probably
talk.
not. Uh this was just learning and talking. Yeah, there's nothing to post here. Um, but I was thinking about a lot of it is really good to post maybe later, but not
Yeah.
just yet. Not just yet. Not till you're ready to post because a lot of that was all your internal computer and stuff. So
Um yeah, like sometime down the future I could take the video when I've finished some stuff and um trim it up, clip it out, and put stuff together, put audio and video, and make it funky.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's cool because both of us can make our own little videos off of the stuff that we make, and that's the dynamic part. We can make, I mean, you don't want to double the content necessarily, but it's good to see uh, like your skill. Like if you want to mess around and play with a video and putting it together, like we were going to talk about that um, earlier about see the patterns video and the professionality of that and stuff like that. But at this hour, it's getting late for me right now, and I need to start eating and get ready for some other stuff and go to bed. And
Yeah,
um,
I gotta
so we'll
get to projects, so we
so
all
we'll
got
pick
fun.
yeah we'll pick up on and talk about making more professional videos later if we could. So that's linear.
Yeah.
And that's the linear and the what other equation?
Well, they're both technically linear. One of them is based on a staircase progression. But yeah, summation.
Okay. Well, there's summations using summation math.
Yeah.
Okay.
Infinitesimal. So it starts at basically negative. Well, not negative infinity, but it's like the closest thing to zero all the way out to infinity. So it is the Dougherty set in its entirety.
Ooh, boy. That's that's amazing and beautiful and thank you for that. I'm not going to share it or do anything with it until we decide to do something with it.
Well, if you ever do have a mathematician that you're talking with, just check that with him because, like, I'm trying to learn the equation and I'm like 90, 98, 99% sure that's correct.
Well, what we should do then is we should just have them on. Well, depending. Um,
I need to talk to someone who knows math. I don't know if there's anybody that like that. Because there's some other progressions in there that I'm still writing.
mhm.
Yeah.
um,
Is there anyone that comes to mind that I can chat with without being like a problem? Or I could keep the math separate from the Dougherty set and discuss just random equations with people that I know and keep it separate from the Dougherty set. Don't show them any visuals on
um, okay, I see what you're saying. Well, the only thing I know is the last person that I was dealing with, the last mathematician, um,
it.
and I don't really talk much. Yeah, he went crazy. Um,
Well, I mean, and I understand. I understand that if you're a mathematician, you've been doing years of work, and something interesting, something so fun comes up, dude couldn't help himself.
I know. Well,
They're
I mean,
all so lonely in that gray world of math, and then something so fun comes up. Yeah,
right.
but I'm containing myself.
Yeah, as we all should, because there's infinite directions to go with it, and like like there's an infinite amount of infinities. That's the same way for life. There's an infinite amount of infinities, and every second of life leads to those.
Well, we should wrap up.
Yeah. Um, cool.
Wonderful.
Uh, yeah, it was a wonderful show. Even though it was a show that wasn't meant to be a show that was a show that might be shown later.
Maybe. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I love what you got going on, man. That's fucking awesome. Uh, keep up the good work, and I'm gonna continue to pull people towards us. What I'm doing is I'm funneling them towards us. I'm trying to get it all in line before the end of the year, where people are paid for a year, which is, I think, selling out short and really cheap because a lot of this content can be turned into um, basically what I want to do is create a progressive show of mathematics that's constantly cut edge and where people are learning new concepts like on the regular. And because there is a lot of cutting edge stuff out there, and this is kind of like Vsauce, you know, I think our minds work very similar, where there's a lot to learn in every single mathematical theorem, or like, especially if you can make a real world tangible uh, evidence to show for what you're talking about, so people can really break it down and understand.
Diagram.
Yeah.
Thinking about how a toroidal field works, you have one of those toroidal balls that you can rotate.
Yeah, or that, and turn it, and just tornadoes or different diagrams, and
take
yeah.
a cup and stir a spoon and explain the mechanics of how the particles or dye that you drop in works with entropy or whatever. Yeah.
Well,
What
I want to do is I want to create the creative space that I've created with Neil for the electric view, but do like the math view. You know what I mean?
Some mathematicians.
Huh?
You're going to want to work with some mathematicians, and I'm not a mathematician, but I'm
right.
trying.
Right. Because that's where this, by working with a lot of electricians and people with the electric view, I understand this very much from a lot of electric perspectives, but they understand it even more than I do from an electric perspective. And just like other mathematicians will understand it even more than I do from a mathematical perspective. But it's the curiosity that's driving in me to push it in all, even philosophical fields, and just it's kind of a curious, there's just a curious string that I can't stop pulling and plucking on, and it's going to keep unfolding, and it's cool to see what it's doing. So on that note, brother, love you, man.
Love is it.
Peace. It was good hanging out with you. Tell your mom I love her, and send my love to the family, and I'll catch up with you on the next round.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a good night, man. All right. Peace. Thanks for watching, guys. This is episode 0, Epsilon, season 1. Number 1, episode number 1 is going to be next week with Michael Evans, the veteran of light sculpting himself. Brighton and Buddy Show is a Love is Watching production. Yeah. Love is Watching. Thank you for doing that. A lot of exciting guests lined up for 2020. Yep. And coming up here for the end of 2019. All right. Executive producers for the Brighton and Buddy Show are Brighton Cotter and Buddy James.